lot of work to do on building it because some of the things that were like very basic were almost missing. Like kitchen was pretty much run down, the shower was run down. So initially, the first year was spent on renovating and getting the hang of like how to live rurally, which I'm sure that some of you experienced that is sometimes difficult because you have a lot of things. Wow, this looks like a hacker ship, the astral ship, right? So you had a lot of things that are very different in. Oh, lost Jam. Hope he'll join. Rurally, you don't have like many things. You can't rely on the municipality services. For example, water. We have to take care of it for ourselves. So then, if there is some drought or if there is some mechanical issue with the pump or whatever, like we have to get it fixed ourselves. Also, like we produce some dragon fruit, which is a tropical fruit coming originally, I think, from Ecuador or somewhere, but is very popular in Southeast Asia. So we produce that because the farm, when I bought it, like there was the largest production in the locality here is on our farm. So I had to like catch the ideas for how to how to both like cultivate it, nurture it, and market it and stuff. Partnering with local farmers that go to local farmers market and stuff. Now already third season, so we're starting to improve a little bit the like getting it sold in better places, partnering with different agents and stuff like that, and trying to sell direct some on Facebook and places like that. Yeah, now maybe back to context of crypto and community. So in renovating the farm, one of the intentions is to make a place for people to come and do deep work and unplug a bit from, the noise and air pollution of big cities. And basically, initially we have one dwelling here, which is a house with swimming pool. And frankly, like the swimming pool is barely used because there's so many waterfalls and lakes and other beautiful places around, so you don't really need it. But yeah, there's heaps of stuff to do on the property if you're into like doing nature stuff. And after trying several internet providers, we got Starlink, the Elon Musk internet, which is great, like really the best that we had after about 4 attempts of different providers. And yeah, then basically at this stage, it's the one house with 4 bedrooms and shared spaces. And depending on how the future development will look like, we're thinking of doing maybe tiny houses or adding some kind of like more independent personal space for people to be in. And yeah, so far we had some builders coming for short-ish periods of time, say like 3 days to 2 weeks roughly, and otherwise also Airbnb guests that are like sometimes there's people that there's shortage of houses in the area, so there's always demand for like whether it's people that come to do a project or whatever. And we have a woodwork artist that is living here and making his kind of holistic art very interesting. Generally, this area is a little bit on the alternative side in Australia. I'm not sure what would be the equivalent in the UK, but I noticed in almost every country there is this region where a bit of alternative people go to. So there's a lot of like yoga studios and artists and small towns with hipster cafes and stuff like that. That's pretty much the vibe. There's actually pretty vibrant open source community here in a nearby city that is considered, like to my surprise, the most gay friendly city in Australia. And it's a very small city, so I would imagine it to be a little bit on the bogan side, bogan being redneck, or I'm not sure what's the equivalent in UK. But surprisingly, there's like a ton of gay vibe there, which is awesome. Just
Which city is
a
that,
bit
if you don't want to
alternative.
share?
It's called Lismar.
Huh?
Happy to share for sure. It's called Lismar. It's a regional city with a uni, like I guess like a tier 2 uni. It's kind of like a college town. Like I'd say probably 50% of the residents are students or on the young side. And yeah, like you meet a lot of, like I actually met some people that I didn't know from before from the crypto space that are very much on the alternative radical side. Sometimes a bit much, I'd say. Like for example, there was the 5G. There's like conspiracies of 5G and the vaccine and stuff like that. So like the another town not too far is the town with the least vaccinated people, which by all means I have no issue with. Like everyone can do their own thing, but at one point they burned the 5G tower that was installed, and then like there was a flood. So in the midst of the flood, no one has communication. It was like, oh man, felt a little bit like third world country for a period. And
Here,
yeah, that's I guess like a very high level overview of my story and what we got here in Pink Valley Farm.
that's awesome. Alex, you probably have some questions. You were researching a bit, and
I mean, we kind of group the talk under alternative living or ideas that, like, we're now currently in this place in Wales. It's called the Astral Ship, and
Yeah.
with cabins, and it has. There are also plans to grow food and those kind of things. You have that too. We know somebody from near Berlin who has a space too. So I'm wondering, like, do you have the idea of connecting with other similar spaces in Australia or maybe even across the world and form some sort of network?
I didn't kind of like get to it, frankly. It's definitely something that I'd be happy to do. Um, it feels, I think, in terms of the journey, I guess, there's just a lot of like setting up to do. So it's like I'm mostly like busy on just getting the basics, like planting some trees. So we planted a bunch of trees, clearing some trees. So, like we haven't got yet to like start really promoting it as much, right? We're really kind of focused on just getting it to a level before we're starting to like embark on too many things. Just because, yeah, it's quite laborious to build a farm. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But by all means, like, would be great to connect.
yeah, here is not. Astral Ship, for example, doesn't have a farm. It's just this chapel. It's basically like an old chapel that was falling apart. So they needed to find some owner basically to do something with it. And Liam will share more about it. He will also have a talk. But yeah, there is no farm. There's just this place, and it's like already tons of work.
But there's a farm nearby.
There is a partner farm nearby.
Epic.
They are working as a cooperative, but they don't have any community space or events in this sense that you could host something there.
So that's the partnership, basically.
Okay. No, there's one friend here, and he's part of the Astro Ship.
Yeah, the audience. The audience is everywhere.
Where it's kind of, we are just watching from different corners.
Cool. Yeah. Like one of the things that I was looking at actually as a first thing that I would want to achieve with partnering with someone, we have a big patch that I want to make it into a productive organic like market product. So that would be kind of like adding that piece. But yeah, all these things are still like in the like. There's a lot of moving parts before like getting to extravagant. Yeah.
Do you have like
Yeah, and like I mean, on the
a
cards are
roadmap?
many things. Like, sorry.
Do you have like a roadmap? Like, or how many milestones are you away from being ready or having
Oh
the
man.
farm in the state that you plan to have it? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'd say I'm probably like at least one bull mark away from further, like allocating
all
funds. I
right.
think, yeah, it's very much like this. Like during the bull market, I
Interesting.
could afford
Yeah,
spending on
that's
more
really cool.
things. And
So, sorry, we're losing audio, it seems.
Oh, can you still hear us?
hello,
Oh no.
What's going on?
1, 2, 3.
Not
Can you
stable.
hear me?
Oh no.
Any signal?
Our internet, yeah. It looks like our internet is a bit shaky.
I can hear you guys, but yeah, it's maybe the quality is lower.
Jan is reconnecting, it says.
Oh, I see.
Uh-huh.
Apologies.
We're back.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, but
Yeah. So you're asking me like how far are we from achieving roadmap and stuff and milestones? Frankly, I think that yeah, when you actually like live on the place, and I'm sure with the astral ship guys, it's the same. You see that it's kind of like never ending, right? It's a journey. It's not like you're arriving at a destination. But I'd say like we're probably like yeah about a one bull mark away from like bull market away from getting a bit more like a bit more comfortable with being able to host more activities. Like I think that now we're slightly limited with space. Like 5 bedroom is good, but it's like a bit tight for like
all right.
it's
Yeah.
like slightly
Especially
tighter,
if you
right?
want
Or
to,
resources.
yeah, especially if you would want to make like a bigger event for like 10, 20, 30 people,
Exactly.
then it would be harder.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
one
like one of the
question,
things we're looking at is Earthship. You know how Earthships work? The kind of you dig into the slope of the hill, and then you have like the Earth is cooling a space. And I was thinking of doing like a yoga hall that is also kind of like communal place to be.
well, that's cool.
That's
What about the business model? Because like this is what I see with Astroship also struggling a little bit is like how to stay alternative because they want to serve communities like ours, which is basically organizing stuff for free. So we can also not pay them a lot. They don't want to be super commercial.
Yeah.
But then because they're not doing this, then it's very hard to sustain this like as a business model.
Absolutely. I think there's many ways of doing it, and it depends on factors like location as well, like I guess labor and what kind of project you want to manage. Like as far as I'm concerned, I'm actually more than happy to commercialize some aspect. Like for example, market paddock. I think it's good for it to be commercialized. Like I think that commercializing is a good thing. I don't think commercializing is a bad thing. I think that there's a bit of a maybe like we don't want to have things that are like pushing towards excessive consumerism or stuff like that. But commercializing is going hand in hand with economic sustainability. So I actually see it as a positive. So look, the dragons were selling. not particularly something that you'll get rich of, but it's something that definitely contributes to maintaining the farm. And then the other thing is there is a shortage of dwelling here, so like adding more living spaces is probably like one of the main. Like I have some friends nearby that had like recently sold their retreat. It was a beautiful retreat. It was probably like where I would aspire to take it. Like you'd have, I think, 3 different houses and one kind of like 7 separate units retreat with a shared communal kitchen. Something like this and like big hall. These things are great because you can host retreats, but also you can host like Airbnb and whatnot, and then Airbnb can go for a much higher rate, right? So then you're able to kind of like get the benefits of both generating income, as well as, you know, if you want to host things that are like maybe on the low budget, and like if we were to do like an event with a community that can't really afford the Airbnb rates, right? So there's different ways of doing it. There's another place not too far that is called The Farm, actually, very nice place. That the way that they did it, they kind of like established a area which is like touristy. You have like cafe, you have a nursery, you have a gelato shop, you have a bakery, you have, you know, like paddocks for rent. And then sometimes the people that are using the paddocks for rent are selling to the cafes and stuff. So they kind of like made this little community, and it's very commercialized. Like it's extremely commercialized, like very touristy and stuff, right? But at the same time, it's like it's what allows them to maintain a very, very nice place. So yeah, it's, I guess, like a question of like what are the trade-offs that we're prepared to do, and what kind of project do we want to manage as well. Like if we want to manage something that is like ultra commercialized, or if we want to, like, how do we balance between leaving enough space for things that we want to see as like alternative and experimental and things like this.
Yeah, this is exactly the thing, yeah, that like at least what Liam's idea here was, is like how can we enable experimentation, because when people go and experiment, they usually don't have like a lot of budget. So he wanted to make it like a place where people can go and like keep low, you know, financially. They don't have to pay like tons of money. So that's why he's not focusing so much on business retreats, which we have another friend in Berlin. She will also have a talk about that. They are focusing on that kind of segment. Yeah. And she will tell us how successful it is, but I think it quite is. But yeah, Astroship is kind of focusing on...
Yeah, I think also Astroship had Airbnb guests, and I think they don't have them anymore, because I think it also was like kind of disrupting the people that came here to work. I don't know. Like, they're also still searching how to make it work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's why I mentioned that it's very location dependent. Because, like, for example, you guys have been in Southeast Asia, right? And you have a lot of these like digital nomad spaces, like co-living spaces, right? And one of the reasons is that it's easier, it's more affordable. Like if people are working on the internet, even like an entry-level job as a developer would allow you to live extremely lavishly in Southeast Asia, right? Whereas I'm not sure about Wales, but I'm imagining, given that it's quite a developed country, and like Australia, it's quite expensive to get basic stuff. So these are kind of like externalities, I guess, economic externalities that are, you know, dictating what you're allowed, like, or what you're able to do. Unless, of course, you know, if there is some kind of, and that's what I'm hoping to be able to achieve, if there is some kind of like way of stewarding, like making it into like patron led, like if you have like a business on the side that is then like, you know, you're able to like sponsor some of this experimentation, right? This would be ideal. Like imagine that you have, like let's say, like totally hypothetically, that you have whether it's business retreats or a productive farm or a technology product of sorts, and then you're also like hosting that space as this community thing. Like you know how oftentimes co-working spaces, I don't know if you got into co-working spaces economics much, but many of them run at a loss or they're subsidized in one or another form. But then like the fact that we have so many of them all around the world, I think it's a blessing, right? Like we have these spaces for people to come and like be slightly less, you know, you don't need to like join a corporate in order to like rub shoulders and share ideas with smart people from your locality. So so I think similarly, like if governments and sometimes tech companies or whatever other funding agencies are sponsoring or subsidizing co-working spaces, then it's quite reasonable that we'll find models for which to get subsidized co-living spaces, right? I think actually you guys know the Subwork guys, Codadot, right? They're now building the Subwork lab. So they're trying to like establish something of that sort, which I only know from like I haven't been there, but it looks quite nice. And yeah, we're very much in contact with them too. Despite
So what is their
being
concept?
on the other side of the world.
What is their concept?
From what I gather, and Jam, maybe you would know better. From what I gathered, there's this. They wanted to have a space that is like it's kind of like a co-working space with residencies. So like people can come and stay for a short period of time to do residency and do co-working, and with their focus on being for the Substrate ecosystem. So it's basically like serving the Substrate ecosystem as like physical public good in a way. And I think that their initial idea is to make it like entirely open, but I'm not sure like if they have any economic model there yet.
I'm not sure
But
if
entirely
they're.
open for people to pass through.
I'm not sure if they're part of this. They might be, but I think that like a little bit back, the Web3 Foundation or Parity actually put out a call for co-working spaces and accelerators to support substrate-based creators. So my understanding is that like they saw that and they thought, yeah, we have experience doing this because before they had what was it called? Progress Bar, right? So they had experience doing that, and now they have a potential avenue to fund a new project like that. So they set that up, and I think that might be an ongoing program. To like,
there is
if
another
you're,
one?
and I think it's just like an ongoing thing where like if you're running a co-working space,
So you can apply too.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, Astral Ship and maybe Pink Valley Farm. I think I recall that that Mate was like he did mention something of that sort. I don't know if it's like entirely tied to that, but yeah, he definitely like Mate is not to mean it in a bad way, but he's definitely a substrate maximalist, right? So I think he's definitely like trying to take it to that direction where you know it's like intentional on supporting the like Substrate Web3 Foundation initiative. But maybe it would be good to invite Mate to speak too. I think I mentioned it to Serpa.
You mentioned?
That Mate could also share.
Yes. I wrote to him, but so far he didn't reply. So let's see. Maybe
he's a bit asynchronous. I'll ping him. I'm usually on a daily text with him, so I'll push him.
I mean, it's definitely interesting to to hear about like different business models for this, because like you say, it's like super needed. It's supporting different creators, and yeah, not everybody has the opportunity to have like a farm next to it. So like Astroship sadly doesn't have any land so that they could produce this.
They have a little bit, maybe.
No, it's not enough for like a big farm,
That's
The
true.
biggest farm of dragon fruits, definitely not. They have like tiny.
Yeah, it's but
space.
then there's trade-offs. Like the living space in Astroships look like it can host a lot more, right?
Yes, there are like tiny cabins.
Yeah, it's like 11, 12
yeah.
of them.
And they can host like probably around 20 people altogether.
Nice.
So I think
that's great.
they basically have this kind of like, maybe Alex, if you can show it.
Where is it?
I mean, just this basic location. It's
Yeah.
it's a church.
It was a church.
Oh wow, it was a church.
Yeah.
It was a church originally. Here's on this
Amazing.
floor there were lots of benches. They're all removed, and they turned it into stairs, for example. So these were
Amazing.
like, I don't know, parts of it.
And then around are these kind of little cabins.
Yeah, you can see there's like 3 cabins. So I don't know. Okay.
No, we can't because
We have to charge. Okay, so I can't move far at the moment.
Yeah, that's okay.
These are like,
But it's this main space where you can host events.
yeah. And
But
upstairs you have more of them.
the problem is
Wow.
that UK.
That's a holodeck for doing VR.
Epic.
Sweet.
You're saying, Nina, that in the UK there is something?
In the UK, it's very cold. So
Oh, yeah.
At the moment.
giant church. How do you keep this place warm? So
You need a dragon.
that you can host events. So basically, we have like some kind of a fire to. I mean, like a gas.
Yeah, it's over here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow.
We call it a dragon.
Yeah, it spits fire.
Amazing.
No, but the thing is that like during summer it's awesome location, so you can totally rent it out. But during like colder months, it's very hard to rent it out until you.
So now it's already colder?
Yeah, now it's already
It's
colder.
quite cold.
We are all like
Yeah.
pretty much dressed in our winter gear.
Yeah, wow.
You see the blanket. So it's quite cold, yeah. So this is also another challenge, it's kind of like it's a big church. It hosts alternative events. It earns a little, but now it has to be completely renovated, perfectly insulated. But there is like giant glass windows, like very unique ones. And each part of the glass is like, I don't know, 200 pounds and so on. So it's like, how do you even get all this capital if you want to stay at like some alternative, independent hacker space for like...
Yeah, at one point we'll get to like, I think we'll get to NFT real estate like more easily. Like it's already very doable. I spoke to a few people that are very much coming like from the trad world, so to speak, but helping like real world assets be tokenized.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point it will become more easy. I was actually thinking about a farming, like a durian farming concept based on NFTs, like NFT financialization, income share agreement. So like these things are likely going to be more possible, I believe, like as we mature with the technology and everything. But yeah, it's absolutely like, of course it's challenging when we want to like be in the bleeding edge. I have actually some questions about the Wizard Amigos, like the boot camp and how you guys are operating it, out of curiosity, both because I follow you guys and always I think that you have something very authentic and genuine about how you're doing.
Yeah,
a little bit like radically idealist. But I'm also curious. I'm thinking I want to maybe join one of the camps at some point. So
Feel free. We'll do one every year.
so what's I mean,
Sorry.
the camp now is like concentrated, but you're actually also doing some stuff. Like there was online activities as well, right?
Now we did a workshop of that.
Yeah. I mean, Wizard Amigos itself is about earn while you learn. It's like creating curriculums and lessons, or creating tooling, so anyone. We're still in the process, like the same kind of as the Pink Valley Farm is not done yet, but the idea is that we will have some sort of a static page generator, but for e-learning. So you have like a lesson or something, but then everybody can create their own lessons. And we just started making some of the lessons and we'll turn them into those workshops. And then every teacher, every person who's setting up some e-learning materials, they can link to others that also create workshops. So it's more like a web ring, but you can set the prerequisite workshops and like this growing decentralized and growing curriculum.
But what has Wizard Amigos been doing for the past? How many years have you been operating?
Yeah, I mean, we're pivoting. Like,
what were you doing until now?
Until now, so I don't know. I mean, we started. It started in phases. Like the first thing was to find like-minded people, by which I mean people who are interested in trying to be digital nomads, but also finding ways to work and ideally to collaborate on projects. So with no investors, we would just bootstrap things. But I think in the first iteration, we just started some meetups. But and we found digital nomads, and we were trying to brainstorm what we could do together. But everybody had a different stack, so it was really, really difficult to collaborate.
But we were organizing like meetups in Berlin for over 3 years, twice a week, like for many hours. So basically, people like this, what we are creating now, like a space where people can come together, share ideas, not be, busy doing their everyday things, but just like kind of come to one space where you find like very creative people with different skills and just try to hack on something, either on your own thing, either watching what others are doing, either trying to do something together. And this kind of vibe we were organizing like twice a week in Berlin for many years. So this was like the first thing that we started.
Did that include also the tutorials? Because I know, like, my impression was that you also do like getting people introduced to how to like learn the craft of
it maybe looks like,
right?
Yeah, it looks like a little bit kind of confusing, but on one hand, it's like, getting people in the right mindset to inspire them to become independent, to start building their own things. And the second part is giving them tooling or like the right skills to do so. So basically, we are learning stuff that we need for our work. And then we're trying at the same time also to teach people. Okay, let's see. Alex says some more stuff.
No, I mean, it's just like the second phase was because everybody had like a different stack. So if we kind of teach the way we do things, then it's easier to get people on the same stack. It could be almost like an open onboarding, or basically by sharing the way we do things. And if people kind of continue to show up and learn similar ways, then in the future it's more easy to work together and do projects together. So
and when you mean like the same stack, it's basically the like JavaScript or Node.js or
like but also building apps either using blockchains or using peer-to-peer instead of setting up like traditional servers or using some cloud services. And of course, a language, if the language is even the same language, like for example JavaScript, that helps. or if it's
Mhm.
different languages, then maybe now we can also explore how we can maybe collaborate
Rust.
by having people doing WASM,
Yeah.
and maybe through
Or
Rust or
Oh,
something
yeah.
else. So these are some more options, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely.
So
easier.
this is how it started, basically, yeah, as meetups, and then trying to get people on the same stack.
And it's many things. Like it's not just programming. It's also some people maybe are interested, but they never thought about could I actually open my own company, and if I would do that, how would it work? And do I need to know something about accounting? Or I've never thought about being a digital nomad. If I go somewhere, what do I even need to do? Like how do I even find where to stay? So. Or how do I need to pack? I mean, there's a lot of little things that can also be shared that also help. So it's not just programming. There's some people who have remote jobs and sometimes they travel, but they travel like tourists. They just come somewhere, they are tourists, and then they just do their regular work with a company where they are actually employed. So that's different from being a digital nomad, trying to not be a tourist, meet others and brainstorm, or be more entrepreneurial, but at least trying to be more entrepreneurial.
Okay, Daniel is muted now, so
No,
maybe.
I'm listening. I'll just be back in a second with the video.
Aha, video.
This is interesting because I understand that. I remember. I think first time that I encountered the Wizard Amigos, you guys were in Southeast Asia. You spent time. Was it Taiwan or Vietnam?
Yeah, I mean, we were in a GAP0 hackathon, and we presented Wizard Amigos, I think, in 2016 or 17.
In Taiwan, yeah.
In Taiwan, yeah. Yeah, that was the first time, but we were there like many times.
No, but
and we'll be there again in the future.
No, but probably when Daniel heard about it was when we did the code camp in Chiang Mai, in Thailand.
Yeah.
This was like before
That
COVID.
was in 2019, yeah.
Possibly. And
Yeah.
was that also, you guys were also the builders of Remix, right?
Yeah, we worked a long time on Remix. That's true.
Yeah, this is how we basically came into more connected to the blockchain scene. Because we started working as contractors.
We were following blockchains for a long time, but not involved as developers. Or not as directly involved.
Yeah, but after we finished working there, we were lucky to meet Joshua, who introduced us to Polkadot and Substrate, and then we were like, wow, we can, instead of just building smart contracts on top of Ethereum, we can now, because we a lot of times heard from people building Solidity, they were like, oh yeah, it's cool, but then when we want to do the real thing, we usually just build like custom chains also. They fork Ethereum and they just kind of change stuff.
Many people just build for their companies or network of companies like a private chain.
Yeah, and then we were like, wow, that's interesting. And now like Joshua telling us that there is like some substrate that you can like basically use
to build your own blockchain.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Sorry. I wanted to show to check what did Jonathan draw from this whole conversation. The problem is, Jonathan, that we have no battery, so we have to stay connected. Would you be able to come to us? Oh, sweet.
All right.
Yeah, Jonathan will share also in the next days a talk about how to share ideas on the paper. And because it's often, we talk about all these awesome ideas, but like how do you really present them? You see how complex it is even to explain what exactly is this Pink Valley farm, how will it exactly work, and like what is Wizard Amigos, and
that's for sure.
Yeah,
and
with Shokunin, it's also kind of how do you explain all these new ideas? It's not like, oh, I'm making a toothpaste, and then like everybody knows how this works.
Yeah. I mean, probably the first person that made toothpaste was also struggling to explain.
It's this thing, that you put on a toothbrush. What is a toothbrush?
Actually, you know that. Wow.
Wait, let's see. Jonathan, what do we see?
So we start in the upper corner. So we got a goat. We have a goat and Guangdong. So I looked that up, I guess. And we have a lot of cryptocurrency leading towards a kangaroo and maybe sort of a
Can you come closer?
sustainable co-working space inside of a geodesic dome, maybe.
Can you see it
Amazing.
well?
Yeah, yeah.
Dragon,
Wow.
not bad.
What is this? Ah, that's a
That's great.
kangaroo. And that's a co-working.
Where are the dragon fruits?
Oh,
Oh,
they're cut into squares.
Oh,
And they're green. It's not edible.
Beautiful.
thanks. So, do we have any more questions for? Do you have any questions for Daniel?
when can we visit the farm? Like, is it ready now? Because you said there are already guests, or
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned to Nina, actually, like if you guys are keen to like come do a retreat, like do deep work, they like we basically have already that facility. Probably
And it
we're
will be
not
warm.
in. Yeah, summertime starting in Australia. It's a good time.
That's amazing.
Probably also
Like
in your
I'm
winter
already
time.
wearing like shorts, and it's like early spring,
Wow.
And this area is subtropical weather, so it's like winter is quite short.
Currently, it's unimaginable for us.
You see how Sarapat is
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah. Like actually,
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm considering is selling the farm and buying another place in North Queensland, far North Queensland, which is it's like an ultra tropical climate in Australia. And there's a city called Cairns. Have you guys heard of Cairns near the Great Barrier Reef?
I haven't.
It's mostly a touristic city, but because also the region is like very productive on agriculture, there is an international airport actually. So then it's quite attractive, and you can grow durian there. I don't know if you guys know durian, but it's a very special fruit.
I mean, I heard the stories, but I never tried it because it's not, the advertising doesn't work very well because like, oh, it's going to be very stinky. It's like, why would I try then?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste, but once you acquire it, you're possessed.
Wow.
All right.
That's what they say.
That's what I say. So we should
Yeah.
try.
Sam, do you know it? Like, I don't know if it's available in Bangladesh.
I've had like durian candies.
Oh, did they smell?
The candies don't smell, but they taste like durian.
Sweet. Maybe this is how we solve it.
Actually, no. The best way to get introduced to durian, if you haven't, and if it's like if you are willing, is get the ones that are like very perky, like not too ripened, basically, just ripe and chilled. 'Cause
Oh.
when it's chilled, it's
Alright.
less pungent.
I mean, in
Um,
Thailand, we always saw them, but yeah, and somehow we never. Because it's also in all the hotels and everything, they say durian prohibited, so you cannot take it in. So it's like, oh, well, it just sounds too
Yeah,
hot. Too
actually-
complicated.
In Indonesia, I had recently like a lot of durian, and they don't mind taking it in. But yeah, you just need to be cautious because it's very pungent. A lot of tropical fruits can be very pungent.
One question: do you? I mean, you said that you are thinking about selling the farm? Would you also? Would you buy another farm? Is this the thing that you definitely want to go with? The farm?
Generally, like short answer, yes. Short answer, yes. Longer answer is, as you know, there is this. Recently, there's this meme actually, like how much you know is linearly correlated to how much you fuck around, and basically, I wouldn't say that like I know too much, but I definitely know a lot more than I knew 2 years ago. Even though like I grew up in rural area and I worked on farms before, being like the key man is very different to like passing by, or even passing by. I stayed like I was on farms like years, but very, very different. So
Here you
I
have
think
to
that
make a strategy for all this. How will it grow? How will you? What will grow where? And I don't know what else you need to know. Yeah, how to protect the fruit from stuff. Invaders.
Oh,
How?
Poachers.
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 Poachers also. What happened?
I don't know. He's
Did
frozen.
we freeze? Did Daniel freeze?
I
What did we-
you can hear the audio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So in thinking about potentially what to do as an alternative before to sell and get a different place, then we're thinking about a place that's slightly less labor intensive and potentially has a bit of bush. So bush is self-sustaining, right? Like farm requires quite a lot of labor just to like keep it tidy, right? If you don't, then like it becomes a good place for a lot of snakes and all kind of other animals. We already have like actually there is snakes in Australia. Like there's a visitor here that I'm unhappy about his visits. This snake.
You said snakes, and Nina immediately like.
That's why, me and Australia.
Now you in Australia are probably
Yeah.
fine with snakes. Not so much.
Snakes, yeah.
I don't think it's as dramatic as the reputation goes. It's in Israel you also have snakes, but the reputation is for the missiles and the Middle Eastern issues, So I don't think it's more dramatic than elsewhere actually.
Oh, that's good to
the
know.
impression I have.
Alright.
Oh.
Basically the same as in Wales.
Yeah,
Probably.
maybe I do think like because it's not so populated, so nature is very powerful. But
Huh.
yeah, it's not like.
So just maybe
that's
more
also one of the
untouched.
beautiful things about it. It's just you really feel. I think also New Zealand. I think you guys have a fair bit of friends in New Zealand, right? The
Yeah.
Mix and other guys.
Yeah.
New Zealand, it feels even more so like to me that nature is so powerful compared to like the established developments, So it's very special.
Yeah, we in Europe are like really, it's so populated that it's hard to find like really, really untouched nature. So, but Wales, I have to say, this part is really amazing. You could see the pictures, like it's vast mountainous area with like not so many inhabitants, so it's really special.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about Wales. Also, they have their own language, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you is diolch. Diolch.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we know.
And they have Kingpin Charles now.
Yeah, that's
Not anymore. Soon they will have a new Prince of Wales.
what they have it in Australia too.
Oh yeah, right. You need to change your money now.
We are subject of the king.
All right.
We're in the same jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Cool. Should
Anything
we?
where you're subordinate,
Yeah. Should we wrap it up, or any last thoughts, questions?
Yeah, we should definitely check out how we do an event in Australia.
That's for sure. And
That's
I
what we know
think
now.
also like to connect you to these other
Yes.
friends that are building these spaces, and maybe with Matej also,
Yes.
and to exchange business models
And best practices and
yes.
Yeah, and
can come
I
to
actually I want to try and get even though I was an engineer, I was mostly doing physics and hardware and less like web
I can
development. So maybe I'll get into the Wizard Amigos tutorials.
All right. Yeah. One thing that I can share is that what we experience a lot of times when we go and travel, I mean, you can always go to a conference if there's a conference, but there's also a time between conferences. And then you go somewhere, and there might be some hubs where you can meet other digital nomads, but it's oftentimes we find a place, and then we're the only people in like the entire region that kind of do something with crypto or are digital nomads, and everybody else is like doing their normal stuff. So that's what I like now about Astralship, and what I could imagine in the Pink Valley farm to meet like-minded people for some time. But then where do you go afterwards? So if there was a network of places and you could hop back and forth and always meet like-minded people, so you would have like a conference, but it's just always on.
Yeah, actually, I was in Bali last couple of weeks ago, and I met a lot of digital nomads there, but there was also quite a lot of crypto happening there. It's very interesting how the theme is very different in depending on the region. Even though it's international people, you have particular there is a profile of people that get attracted to this. For example, there's a ton of Russian crypto people in Bali, which it's interesting. It's different, right?
Probably more now.
They're also in Phuket.
Yeah, I guess. And then like Australia, for example, totally different crypto scene. Australia is there's a lot of enterprise vibe, or not just enterprise vibe, just very commercialized driven, for better or worse, right? It's very, very professionalized, right? And I used to always kind of look at it as a little bit of a dissonance from the grassroots vibe, but now I actually see it as there's so much good in it, because it's easy to dismiss the wealth of experience and knowledge from the past and say oh, we just need to make it obsolete. But actually there is wealth of knowledge, and it's beautiful. So you can pick the good things, There is this really good book by Ben Horowitz, you may know, one of the founders of A16Z. He has in this book about culture, what you do is who you are. He mentioned the Haitian slave revolution, and it was partially successful. And he was saying that one of the reasons that he attributes the success to is because the slave that ended up being the revolutionary and establishing the thriving economy after it, he decided not to discard some of the practices that were actually good, because it's very easy to have negative sentiment and just throw the baby with the bathwater. And then he was basically very intentional about okay, let's actually keep the things that we want to keep and discard only the things that are bad. So it's very interesting, and that's one of the reasons I actually grow appreciation to the fruits people practices in some ways.
Yeah. Cool.
That's a nice segue to wrap up this. I mean, it's a super interesting thing. I'm happy that you took time for us. I'm hoping, because it's a first call or the first talk, that OBS managed to record everything well. In between, we heard somebody saying that there is no sound. So,
but then they said we fixed it. So
really?
yes.
Oh, that's perfect.
So we'll see. We'll have to check
the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
otherwise we will have to repeat this soon. And I mean, in general, in Wizard Amigos, this is definitely the theme is sharing knowledge and connecting to other learners and other mentors. So
so we work in networks of people.
Yeah, people
at some point.
Peer to peer. IRL.
Yeah. It's hard to get there, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So thank you very much, and we see us somewhere soon, online definitely every day, but hopefully also in person.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let me also share other
Yeah, thanks.
Yay!
Bye bye.
People, bye bye. Thank you, Daniel. Ciao.
Cheers. Bye bye. Have a good night.
You too.